Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Welcome back, everyone, to Big Fat Real Estate Checks with yours truly, Marco Kozlowski. And today I only have Gabriel Araish from Montreal. And of course, this is a podcast on how to leverage other people's money in order to obtain financial independence, build wealth, build generational wealth, and learn skills that will allow you to make as much money as you choose to, so you can have more time, spend more time with your family, and really enjoy this life that we have. And I'm grateful that you, the listener, have helped us climb to the charts of very close to number one. We really appreciate that. And of course, please share as much as possible this podcast, as the more people we can impact and reach and serve, the happier we are going to be, as that is our mission, to help as many humans as possible achieve financial independence by learning skill sets, not necessarily having money, but having access to money or access to different tools through having the right skill sets to be able to do that. And if you've listened to past podcasts, I hope you have enjoyed them, and again, have shared them and liked them and comment, depending on which platform that you are enjoying this now. So again, my name is Marco, and I'm here with Gabriel, and we're going to talk today about his journey and his partnerships that he's had along the way, and the struggles that he's had, and the struggles that he hasn't had that many people do have when they first get into the business. So he has, of course, a very different journey than you might have or are going to have as a listener. Things do change, and you're definitely surrounded by a different group of people than I was when I first started, and that Gabriel is when he first started, and that you will be when you are starting or in the middle or near the, depending on where you are in your journey. So welcome, Gabriel, and I appreciate your openness to most likely shed some personal things, and I will as well. Many of you know my story, or maybe not, but I'll share what I can based on what we're discussing. It's going to be very organic, nothing really canned or prepared. I know we met, 2014-ish?
Ish, yeah. I don't even remember, but 13, yeah, it's about 16. Maybe even 15. I think we're going on 6 years. I
think it was before 15. Yeah. Definitely 14. I would say 14. Yeah, 14-ish. Which we're 2085 now, so it was like 185 years ago. It was a while ago, and yes. I was doing an event in Montreal. You actually weren't even enrolled. I think you were roped in by a partner of yours. So I'll let you fill in the gaps. So how did we meet, and where did your journey start? Let's start from there.
All right. Well, my real estate journey started a little bit earlier than you and I having met. I started doing real estate, or attempted to do real estate here, starting in about 2009 in Montreal, Quebec. Picked up a couple of condos through an acquaintance, someone who was doing some apartment conversions into condos. Picked 4 up in about the matter of about 3 years. They never cash flowed. They were supposedly bought at a discount. At least that's what I was told. I made a lot of mistakes in that process. I as you all know from the discussions, I'm a CPA by profession. So there was this, I guess, a little bit of arrogance on my end, where I know what I'm doing, especially when it comes to numbers. And when I got into real estate, I kind of went in blindly and trusting only my what it is that I've learned, but what I've learned was in a different field than real estate. So I didn't quite grasp that at the time. Like I said, I think there was a little bit of arrogance there in the way. And, the result was all my fault. But at the end of the day, what ended up happening is, near the 4th year, so when I picked up the last one, I realized that a lot of the properties I bought them wrong. And I was upside down, where the value was not only lower than what I paid, the value was lower than my mortgages. So it was not a fun time to be me. Was a lot of darkness in those years, especially following through. So what ended up happening is there was a moment between that time where I noticed that I was underwater and that this was not going to end well for me, and the moment I decided to attend the first 3 day with you, Marco, is I ended up looking in a mirror and realizing that nobody's going to kind of fish me out of this. it's on me, and the only person that's going to help me out of this is the person that's looking at me in the mirror, and that was me. It wasn't an easy moment, but I don't know what happened, because I had a victim mentality. I have to admit this. This is who I was. I used to, I was blaming the promoters. I was blaming the salespeople. I was blaming the tenants, the banks. I was blaming everybody but, Exhibit A, which should have been me. So once I did realize that, I think that's where I started, I started reading some books and got to understand that I needed to get educated in that field before I can move on.
I'm impressed, because many people that get into bad situations want to blame everyone else. I've been in there myself. If you've heard the Red Sox story, when I was homeless from my second marriage, and I was extremely toxic and bringing everyone down with me. But having that realization that you are the only one that can fix the problem, and as soon as you take responsibility in that decision, a lot of things start changing. And it's a very difficult thing to do, because when there's a lot of ego involved, it's very difficult to step away and say, I have to fix this. Despite what, a lot of things can happen around you, and a lot of bad things can happen to anyone. Bad things happen to good people all the time. It's how you react to those things within that situation that really makes a difference if you sink or swim, or if you're surviving or thriving. So I just want to give you some kudos to that, because many don't get to that realization that you need to do something about where you are now, or nothing is ever going to change. I actually make people read a book called Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. If you have an opportunity to read that, great little book, very easy read, and it talks about change, and you have to change constantly or bad things will happen. So anyway, keep going.
All right, thank you. And in fact, it was very difficult, but like you said, at the moment I made that realization, it was like the whole weight of the world just, got off my shoulders, and I was able to move forward, because now I could focus on what's next. And so I started reading some books on real estate, and it's weird because, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book I read on real estate, and I was told to read it maybe 7 years before I started buying real estate, and I never did. And had I read that book after the first chapter, I knew exactly what I did wrong in my purchases. So I started reading a little bit more, and then that's when I decided to start doing real estate the right way, and I partnered up with a friend, and we started doing some rent to own in Montreal. But, we were getting into the point where we were realizing that U.S. real estate seemed like a good idea. A lot of people were going that direction. My friend was more keen on this than I was, because he kept saying, let's go to the U.S. And I'm like, listen, man, we are having trouble doing this in our own backyard. Why would I start going to another country and with different rules? And so I was actually the bottleneck for that. And one day I was actually still working. I was going to work, and my wife sitting next to me, who's my rock, by the way, and you'll see why in a little while, but she handed me a newspaper, and she said, look, there's an ad here, and the ad was for one of Marco's seminars. He was coming to Montreal, and he was going to have a 2-hour session where it was a free 2-hour session to tell us a little bit about investing in the US. And I'm like, okay, great, this is great for my friend. I didn't even think for me. I snapped a picture, I sent it off to my friend, and that's it. And I didn't hear about it till that night. I got home, and I like, oh yeah, it's true. I sent that. I called him. I go, hey, did you get my the picture I sent you? He's like, yeah, I went. I actually signed up to a seminar. It's next weekend, and I was just gonna call you because I can bring a guest. Do you want to come, or do I bring someone else? I go, it's paid for already. I'm like, you know what? I go, why not? I might as well. It's you're going. I might as well keep you company. And that's kind of how I ended up in your class. And that was a turning point in my life. It was a life-changing moment for me.
Took the class. You were open. Gave concepts. Usually in a 3-day, any 3-day that I ever offer. I do also seller calls where I give homework and you bring deals to class. I'm not sure if we did a call in your class or not. I can't. I usually
multiple calls.
Yeah,
that's what sold me. I won't lie to you. That's what sold me on you being genuine. Is right. That part.
And just picking up the phone with people's deals that they bring in with very specific marketing processes. And and then you decided to get mentorship and have your ass kicked and get as many units as you desire to achieve financial freedom.
Agreed.
Which is, I'm not cheap. I never have been. Don't want to be. I want commitment with those that I work with, And just to be clear, and the 3-day is extremely affordable, and anything that I offer with ClassWise, there's a support mechanism to get you to the number of units that is promised. So if you take the basic with the concepts that are absolutely necessary in order for you to even get mentorship, you learn how to get a 3 to 5 unit, and we will support and help you get that 3 to 5 unit period without an additional cost ever. So there's no upsells ever on what we promise. So if 3 to 5 is what we promise, 3 to 5 is what you're going to get, period. There's not one dime that you need to invest more in order to get there. And that's how I work. If you want to get 25 units, then we'll help you until you get 25 units minimum, and then 50 units, 100 units, however many units you want. Anyway, sidebar. So you decided to, go bananas. And again, it's a significant investment. You were saying earlier that your wife is your rock, and I'd like to discuss that a little bit because when I first started, I had huge money boogie monsters, I'm going to call them, because I did not come from a wealthy background. Money was very difficult to come by, and I was a stay-at-home dad, and any money that I wanted to invest or spend in education for real estate was a fight from hell. Like, it was very difficult, and I did not have a good support mechanism when I first started the process on my side. It was very, very challenging. And I understand that you had the opposite reaction, and the opposite thing happened. So, and again, you're bleeding money every month right now, right? You're working, you're bleeding money every month.
At that point, yeah.
At this point, you go to a seminar from someone you've never met before, and I'm just there, and you're like, okay, I like this guy, I think. I want to learn more, and you're coming back home to your spouse with, how does that conversation happen? Because I'm sure there were, listen, not for nothing, but if my spouse had bought 4 properties or did 4 businesses that were failing, and then says, hey, I want to invest XYZ amount of dollars into the same kind of concept, I'd be very skeptical. Usually, like, I'm just putting myself in as a devil's advocate. So I'm sure that was a very challenging conversation for most, and I'd love to hear how that went on your side.
Sure. Well, that conversation here wasn't all that difficult because the one thing that my wife believes is she believes in my capacity to do something when I say I'm going to do it. So my work ethic has always been something that not only am I proud of, but she's proud of and understands and sees me. I very rarely sit down and watch TV. I very rarely do things that are considered unproductive. When I'm in the zone working, this is something that I do. So the challenge was understanding why, and the questioning with her was, well, okay, so put the investment aside. So you're going to invest in this. What's the difference between what you're doing now and what you're going to be doing with that investment, right? Because that was essentially the discussion that we had to have. And, at the time, for me, the biggest hurdle was I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to, start buying real estate the traditional way, the down payments, all that stuff. That was something I didn't have. And coming out of your course at that time, it was clear that I had solved that problem. I don't need any money to get into a property. What I need is the right way to get into the property, the right coaching. And that's one thing that is very coachable. If you tell me, jump, the question is how high, and I would do it. It's if I'm investing, I'm trusting in the process. I had to do that.
So you had a very healthy conversation, and you didn't fall into my trap at all, which I'm really, really pleased. Which is, it's not the real estate doesn't work. It's the approach that you had that didn't work. So with a better approach and a better system and a better process, you can get great success. With no mechanisms, and someone could do a business and it fail, and it's not the business that fails, it's actually user error. You're not doing it right. I recently purchased it into another business with a partnership, and they were really not making any money at all for a period of time because of what's going on situationally with the pandemic. But there's an opportunity everywhere if you just know how to look at it. So I stepped in, and our numbers have been extremely positive over the last 3 weeks that we've improved processes, and it went from treading water to quite profitable in a very short period of time, in a 4-week period. So it's not that real estate or that business doesn't necessarily work. It's how are you doing it and serving your customers or serving the process around it that's really needing to change. And you saw that opportunity and had the right conversation. So well done.
Thank you. So essentially, that's how the decision was made to go ahead. Everything else that he's taught during the course, I was able to do. Like if you said, go do this in terms of marketing or go do that, I'm capable of doing that. I'm capable of sending an email, just like, most people are capable of doing. I'm capable of picking up the phone and calling someone. Now, obviously, since I've taken the class and what's taught today, it's night and day. But at the time, with whatever you were teaching, it for me was like, okay, I can do this. He's not doing anything. The only thing that you did that at that time, I sat in a chair thinking, I don't think I can do that right now, is when you got on a seller call. But the understanding was that if I worked with you, you would be doing the seller calls with me or for me. So that kind of risk was mitigated for me. So ultimately, the only way I could fail is if I did nothing. And that's the one thing that I can control. So it was a no-brainer for me. It was just a question of, yes, the amount is a hurdle. It's more psychological hurdle than it is an actual hurdle, because I think within 3 months of joining the program, I had more than my investment in equity already. So again, it just came to prove that I was correct in that if I just put in the effort and followed the process, I would eventually get a result. Did I know it was going to be 3 months, 6 months, a year? No, I just knew it was going to come, and it came when it came.
Yeah, and again, whatever the investment is in education, you're always going to get that back many, many, many times over. In fact, if I were to say to you, I'm going to give you double your investment back that you've originally paid, I'm going to give you double your money back today, but you have to forget, I'm going to wave a spell, and you forget everything that you've learned up to this point, would you take the money or would you keep the knowledge?
No, keep the knowledge any day of the week. In fact, the knowledge has already been diluted into my children, and it's going to be then rediluted with grandchildren eventually, hopefully. So to me, there's no way.
You've paid for your education almost monthly, many times over. So it's it's a dumbass question that I'm asking. But for those that are on the other side of that coin, and this, should I even put $2,000 in to learn how to do this thing? And you paid $5,000. I was charging $5,000 at the time, Canadian, $3,500 US with the exchange rate. But so cool. Okay, so having problems, started going down the path of doing things right. You quickly got some properties, started making cash flow, and I think you flipped a property, made some cash to get into something else. So let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So the first couple of properties were actually, we wholesaled them. So we got two houses, separate transactions, very small purchases. I think the first contract was for $7,000 and we sold it to someone else for $12,000. So we made $5,000 in the spread on the wholesale fee. So that alone paid just for the 3 day that we spent with you. And then we did another transaction. I think we made $7,000 net on that one. Yes, because we made 12 total. So on 2 wholesale transactions. So that's 7. And then we got into a contract with 5 separate homes. So there were 5, just single family homes, but they were all rented already to tenants. And, we got them on the cheap. I don't even remember. I think we must have paid maybe $90,000. But between the 5 homes, we were making $2,000 net after debt service a month. So it was a no-brainer.
Forgive me. So you paid around, let's call it $100,000. Doesn't matter what you paid for them because it's what the net that matters, that counts. So you paid whatever you paid for them. And after the debt service, you're still making $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
And how much money did you have invested in those properties?
None.
Zero.
None. I borrowed everything, and
right. That's the point. Is no money. So you instead of in your first 4 or 5 condo transactions that didn't do well, I'm assuming you had some money down.
Yeah. Well,
so you had
call it at least 5% for each. Back then the rules were different. So
right.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can do 5% anymore, but
no,
probably 20%, even 30% in Canada at this point. But
correct.
You're putting 20-30% down on a property. You don't have any of that anymore, and there's no way you're going to cash flow that much on not even one of these things. So you buy a package of 5 that makes about $24,000 a year net. Now that's your return is actually more than 24% because there's debt service, which shouldn't even count. So if you had paid cash, it'd be a lot higher. And that's a lot of money. That's already some nice little scratch that puts gas in the car and clothes on the kids and skates on someone that needs to go ice skating.
And smiles on the family members. And
Exactly.
which was the most important at that time, given how hard of a time we were going through.
And that happened within, what was the time period from when you started the program to getting
that moment? It was about, I'd say about, I want to say 6 months to be fair. I don't remember quite, but I remember it wasn't immediate because, at the onset, we were struggling too, and I think we had conversations with you where we don't know where this is going, and we've been following the process, but slowly you figure out that it's just a numbers game. So our time ended up coming, and it was it must have been around that 6 month mark.
And just to be clear, forgive me, is I don't even teach wholesaling. That's not even something that's in the curriculum. Like we do a little bit, but that's not our intent. I don't teach wholesaling. I teach buy and holds. But if you do tie up a property and it doesn't check out, then we will wholesale it because it's not a good buy for us. But if we're already going through due diligence and it doesn't make sense for us to buy it, why not just make some money on the paper? And you did that twice.
Correct.
So instead of passing on the deal, you still cashed out of it because our intent is always to buy and hold. I just want to be super clear on that. I'm not one of these guys that teaches wholesaling. Shit, there's probably 1,000 people online that can do that for free, and there's nothing that I can teach you there that you probably don't already know. Mm-hmm. But they're very specific processes on getting the property and creating a really good opportunity, tying it up, doing all your checks and balances to make sure it's a phenomenal deal that will cash flow like crazy. And then if it doesn't, you sell the paper. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I hated the fact that we had to wholesale. We did it because at the same time it helped the seller where we had a promise and we wanted to get to closing, and we did, but it was somebody else closing on it. So it kind of worked out for everyone, and we got paid in the process.
There you go.
So that's it. So then we kind of kept those properties for like 8 months or so. We after we did that deal, we started seeing other students do bigger commercial deals, and it kind of sounded more interesting because now It's as if it became real for us after those 5 houses were purchased and we were making the cash. And it's like, okay, well, if we can do this, then why not do the same thing with multiple units or bigger units? And so we decided to sell the 5 houses for almost what we paid. I think we maybe sold them for $95,000 because we wanted to get into commercial. We wanted to kind of get away from the single family homes. And we did that quickly. The good news in all this is sort of the private lender that we had that lent us the money, the agreement was for 1 year. And it was, I think it was like 10% interest that we were paying out at the time. And everything was going smoothly. They were getting paid. I remember them calling me and, thanking me. Their checks were coming in every month. And then the call came from me to them saying, hey, we just sold the properties. This was 8 months in out of the 12 months. And we're like, we're going to have to just let me know where to send you the money because we're going to pay you back. And I kind of need to know because we're closing on Monday. This was a Friday. He's like, it was total silence. It was like very awkward. And I'm like, hello, because I didn't learn that I should shut my mouth until someone spoke at that time. But so, and he's like, yeah, sorry. He goes, I'm just a little bit shocked. He goes, this is the first time ever that I've lent money to someone and they're paying me back ahead of time. Usually I get either, they pay me on time, which is very rare, but it happens, or usually people want an extension. So mentally, I was prepared to go a little bit longer than the year. I'm like, that's fine. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but, and he's like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, we want to get into something bigger. We need a little bit more money. So we're just, going to sell these homes and move on to something commercial. He goes, well, what are you looking at? Well, I got my eye on this mobile home park, and it was like, I think I needed $150,000 to get into it, and he had lent me $90,000. So I'm like, listen, just let me know what you want me to do, because on Monday I gotta kind of tell the title company where to send the money. It's not coming in my account. This is your money. He's like, all right, give me the weekend. And Sunday night he calls me and he's like, listen, he goes, just when you sell these things, I'm gonna send you another $60,000. He goes, and I'll lend you the $150,000 for the next project. And that's how kind of that came along. So it was kind of an interesting first deal, these houses, because it really cemented everything that we discussed in kind of one transaction. So it was fun. And then we got into commercial, and we haven't really looked back ever since.
And then you went from mobile home parks to apartment buildings, hotels, and just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you went,
Correct.
And sharpen your axe, and it's a fun journey. And I've said this before, once you take someone's money and then you pay them more than expected and or faster than expected, I call it boomerang money. They don't want it back. They want it back like they want AIDS. Like, get this out of here. I want it to work, because money in a bank account makes no money at all. It's losing money, right?
Yeah.
With inflation, you're losing 4% a year, which means 100,000 today is only worth 94,000 next year. I'm sorry, 96,000 next year. So it's really going down in value. So you want to have your money working as hard as possible, because money in the bank is worth less tomorrow, and it's worthless, really. Cool. So you got the concept of boomerang money. You went into mobile home parks, and just to circle back, because I want to, why did you decide to wrap this up? Why did you decide to go into this full time? Because I know you were working full time as a well-paid CPA. You were in a fairly prestigious position, and you have 2 kids. I know your wife works really hard, and she also is very in demand. I know she's very very successful in her own circles as well. So what was your reasoning, and how did that conversation happen? Because I know it's not always an easy conversation to say, what, I'm going to take this cushy thing with all these benefits, and I'm going to fly by myself.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It's multiple things. So obviously, I've always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial DNA, and so that was always something that I had a dream of one day, stopping to work and just being able to fly by my own wings and move on, and have that financial freedom and the ability to do what I want. But the thing is that's the dream that you have as a teenager and as a young adult. But then when family starts getting into the picture and children arrive, your focus shifts quickly to the children. And in my case, I know my daughter at the time must have been maybe 8 years old or so, and she started showing signs of strength in her sport. She's a figure skater, and she started getting really good at it, and the better she got at it, the more time it demanded. When she got into grade 3, we ended up shifting her into it's a student athlete program where she goes to school only half a day, and then the rest of the day she's at the rink skating. And the first year went well because they had a bus system, and so I was okay to keep working. But then we kind of got hit with a curveball where they had to change her training center, and her training center was outside of a zone where she can get driven to every day. So I now had to find a way to get her from school at noon to the rink by 1, and be able to go pick her up at 5 o'clock when she's done and bring her back home. And we quickly realized that was going to be impossible with both of us working full time. So we had to have the discussion. It wasn't easy. I think the end game was that we knew we wanted to get there. The question was, how do we make it happen and still survive and be able to pay for all this? Because it's not cheap. So again, like I said, my wife is my rock. She's amazing, and having the discussion, she's like, hey, listen, your real estate is going well. I think if you work full time at it, you can make it go a lot better. So, try again, the trust in my capacity to make things happen if I put my mind to it and focus on it. At the same time, she's like, well, I'm moving up the corporate ladder, and I'm getting to a place where it's going to get a little bit more comfortable. So I think the discussion was more like, we're going to trade off maybe another 2 years of grinding it, if you will, where we would have to make ends meet, and it wouldn't be easy. We'd have some sacrifices to make, but she was willing to make them, and who am I to disappoint her at the end of the day? So that's sort of how we made it happen. And then obviously, I was lucky enough to be able to help you serve the students and whatnot, and that just kind of propelled everything, and it's been a great journey so far. And but I have her to thank. I think had she said no, we can't do this, it would have been a whole different thought process as to how to make this happen.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you doing better now that you've stopped, or are you doing better when you hadn't stopped? I know from a time perspective, and again, do you have the time now to invest as much as you want with your daughter and support her in any way necessary in order for her to pursue her career? Because I think she's like in the top in Quebec and in Canada. She's very, very good.
Well, Canada, we don't know yet. She's too young. But for Quebec, yeah, she's always ranked top 3, top 4 in the province. And she works so hard. And I think that's also what fuels me, is the fact that she's working hard towards a dream that she has at a young age. And yeah, so in terms of time, I have no more restrictions. In fact, now I have so much time that people start booking things for me, so that, because, you know, it's like I'm the one saving them time. But ultimately, it's been great, and financially too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The first year or two were a struggle, and it was about building a foundation for my business, and that took about, you know, I'd say 18 months to 2 years, and the foundation is now extremely solid, and now it's like a learning curve where we're growing exponentially, and it's gonna be. I'm really looking forward to this year. It's just, you know, we're only past Q1. It's going to be a fabulous year, and I can only imagine what the next 5 are going to look like. It's going to be amazing.
And you know, we do a lot of transactions now together. We developed not only a student mentor relationship, but also a friendship, and we've bought properties together, and our work ethics are aligned, and our values are aligned, and we started a couple private equity funds together. You know, $50 million. And you know, it's with the market in the opportunities that we see, it's almost like taking candy from a baby. It's very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. So any last parting words? I don't want to make this as long and drawn out as possible, but if someone is listening right now and they just really want success in some way, what is it that you highly recommend? What are the 3 things that you recommend someone do if they really want to do this and make $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month, you know, like you are doing? What is it?
Well, the first thing is, if you want to do this, then do this. Don't let anybody or anything get in your way. You have to believe in yourself first and foremost. So if you believe that you are capable of doing something, you're going to be able to do it. And that's the one part. But you can't get to somewhere higher in an industry without help. There's nobody on this planet that's successful by themselves. It just doesn't happen. Even the best athletes in the world have an amazing coaching support system, and they have specific coaches for specific items. And in my case, and it's going to be your case, I'm telling you right now that if you want to succeed in real estate, you're going to need someone to help you and navigate you through the issues that could happen, because real estate, you know, as much as real estate can make you millions very quickly, it can cost you millions very quickly if you mess up. So, you know, why not have someone in front of you that's kind of navigated the waters already and knows where, you know, the Bermuda Triangle is and knows where the calm water is, and have them direct you in that direction so that you don't have to pay the big price. Now, did I make mistakes along the way, even though I had Marco holding my hand? Absolutely, I made mistakes. But the difference is that my mistakes were extremely small and they weren't costly, versus had I just gone down and just jumped in the deep end of the water without, you know, a buoy.
And they were necessary, because you can't go through this without making very specific mistakes that you have to learn from, because you can't learn everything from a book and say, okay, now I know what to do. It's experiential, where you have to experience the mistake, learn it, internalize it, and then never make it again. And these are mistakes that won't kill you. They're only going to make you stronger.
That's right. And that's sort of the concept where you have to do it to learn it, because if I just follow direction, then I'll never really learn how to do it. It's like somebody telling me, if you keep using your GPS to get to a location, I'll bet you're going to use that GPS for the rest of your life. Until you start doing it on your own, trying to memorize the GPS or making the mistakes and then realizing that you have to reroute, it's just not going to work. So that's my piece of advice, is don't let anybody get in your way. I've had to change a lot in terms of my mindset, the friends around me, the people that were bringing me down, the negativity. I surrounded myself with positive people. I'm lucky, like I said, that I have a positive human being at home in my wife. That helps a lot. And then after that, it's just trust in yourself, trust in your beliefs, get the right person to guide you. And success is just going to be, it's only time that's going to get you there. You'll get there, but you're going to speed it up a lot more than if you try it on your own.
For sure. A lot less frustration. Well, Gabriel, I really appreciate your candor. And again, as a listener, just do it. Get the right guidance and the right information and the right safety net. So when things go wrong, because they do, it's part of the process, you can be caught and survive them and not splat onto the ground and wish you had a net or a parachute. So Gabe, thanks again. Listener, thanks again. And again, if you love us, comment, share it, and we want nothing but great success for you and your family. And I'm looking forward to helping you and as many as humans as possible achieve financial independence by giving really great content, and always appreciate your listenership. And again, if you have any comments on something that you want to listen, that you want to hear about, or a topic that we haven't discussed yet, please email me at marco@marcokozlowski.com. That's marco@marcokozlowski.com. And we look forward to just helping you achieve amazing things. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And again, Gabe, I appreciate you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.